Start of tape 3. The Chiral Network 1. So, the core infrastructure is complete. The basic Cupid ready, Chiral Network setup is good to go. Now all we have to do is connect Central Knot City to Capital and prove that it actually works. Sadly, I won't be here to see it. I've been assigned to the expedition team's second group, so I'll be heading west with the others. But the people in charge here are the best of the best. They'll have that network operational inside of 3 years, just as planned. I'm sure of it. And while they're seeing to that, we'll be visiting towns and whatnot across the country, and putting the facilities in place for when things are finally up and running. Amelie and the others in the lead group will be forging the connections and laying the groundwork to make sure everything goes to plan. Afterwards, we'll just need to link it all up with operational Cupids, and that should be that. It's kind of like the Apollo missions back in the day. They used a 3-stage rocket to get to the moon, right? Well, we're using a 3-stage process to do something almost as revolutionary. The Chiral Network 2. In a way, the Chiral Network makes use of the beach to allow us to travel through time. See, sending large amounts of data takes large amounts of time, as you'd expect. But the thing about beaches is, well, time doesn't pass the same way in them as it does here. Might not even pass at all. Think about how the light from the stars in the sky we see was produced thousands and thousands of years ago. Routing data through the beach is like jumping to a point earlier in that journey, thereby cutting it shorter. Much shorter. Just imagine, massive amounts of data transferred almost instantaneously. That's what we're trying to achieve with the Chiral Network, in a nutshell. In theory, the network allows us to reconstruct old data that would otherwise be lost, and to do so with fragmented resources. Using what's known as Evo-Devo analysis, we could take the finger bone of a dinosaur, say, and extrapolate from that not only the dinosaur's form, but its composition, internal, external, even its thought processes, to a degree. Anything is possible with chiral computing. In other words, we won't just be able to reunite a nation. We'll be able to reclaim everything we lost in the Death Stranding. More even, theoretically, we could go back as far as the birth of the planet and beyond. And thanks to the beach, we'll be able to compile all that data in one place, and reduce the processing time for even the most complex analysis to nearly zero. Drones and the Singularity. Yep, the bot is good to go. We're putting it through some field tests within the network service area. Should have the results before long. Delivery efficiency within a given region is expected to improve following successful Cupid connection as well. No, that won't be a problem. The bot's just a cargo carrier. Human input is required to accept orders and set coordinates. Drone syndrome shouldn't be a factor. And the Singularity? Not a chance. Well, think about it. AI doesn't die. It might get upgraded or replaced, but it's not at all comparable to death. So it has no reason to fear it, you see? The concept is completely foreign, incomprehensible. Death comes to all living things, but only humans have the capacity to understand the implications, to imagine what it means to no longer exist. That's one limitation AI won't ever overcome. That's the reason it won't ever surpass human intelligence. Lochne and Mollingen. You know what we used to dream about? Seeing what's beyond those clouds up there. We spent our whole lives beneath a Corellium sky. It's all we ever known. But we also know that the world used to be so much bigger. Our parents told us. They were researchers who worked for NASA, though these days most people wouldn't know what that was. It went up in smoke around the same time America did. And all our parents' work went with it. But we still have our dreams. The one thing our parents gave us that can never be taken away. Mollingen and I were named after a pair of craters left by meteors, which struck the Earth 450 million years ago. Those craters are proof that this planet is part of something bigger, that we exist within a vast, interconnected universe. Our names serve as a reminder of this fundamental truth, symbols of our parents' hope that our isolation is only temporary. That's why we joined Bridges, too, to bring the people of this country together again, and to one day reunite this planet with the greater universe that surrounds it. What became of Malingen and Lochner? We'd forgotten all about our dreams of going to space. It was a dream from an earlier, simpler time. From before we realized our baby was a BT, binding us to the other side. And before we had to sever the link between us. After that, Malingen couldn't even leave the lab, and Lochner swore to live a life of isolation in Mountain Knot City. There was no room in our heart for outer space. But now that we're one, it's all become so clear. In choosing isolation, choosing to forget about the outside world, we were just being human, just doing what everyone else was doing. We turned inwards, venturing deeper and deeper into ourselves, focusing on our inner worlds at the expense of the one we shared. Maybe this is what they mean when they say that the beach is a reflection of the individual's soul. We became trapped in the multiverses contained within. But at last we have a chance to escape. Now that America is whole, we can begin to expand our boundaries once more. The bonds we've forged could carry us beyond these clouds. It's past time we saw the stars again. Prepper interview, the engineer. My horizons ain't exactly broad. That said, I'm not completely cut off from the outside world. I knew what Bridges was, and that they were trying to rebuild America. But when you're living down here, it's hard to see how that's got anything to do with you and yourself. Am I right? My folks holed up in this shelter after the Death Stranding. Had a kid and raised him in their slice of paradise. And together we lived off whatever Fragile Express was kind enough to bring our way. They told me the tales about the good old days, but I've never had much of an imagination. Couldn't see how a country long gone was any concern of me and mine. Far as I figured, if Fragile Express was happy to keep bringing us stuff, we didn't need anybody else. And we certainly didn't need America. Whatever that even was. But then, one day, I was looking at a part for this machine my dad put together. He was an engineer, too. And I noticed something. It said, "Made in the USA." Right there, in tiny print. Got me thinking that America might not exist anymore, but the stuff Americans built is still around, making our lives a little bit easier, even now. You could say the old country lives on in its works. Kind of like how my folks live on in me. They, died a while back. Anyway, if they were American, I guess that makes me American too. Maybe this shelter, a part of it all. Once I realized that, I started pouring my heart into building stuff to help you guys put the country back together. Terrorists posing as Fragile Express couriers. The terrorists have been at it again lately. You heard, right? About how they've been sneaking in and out of cities, disguised as Fragile Express couriers. We'll have another disaster on our hands at this rate. But it's not like we can just cut them out. We need Fragile's people to keep on doing what they're doing. We rely on those guys for a lot. Well, maybe we shouldn't. I hear they're transporting weapons now. Why'd they be so stupid? I can't imagine. Spreading shit around that kills in a world where the dead are taking BT bombs? Sure, terrorists are a threat, and mules a royal pain in the ass. But what genius figured escalation was the way to go, when we all know where it leads? We need weapons, no, tools, that can take down the bad guys without killing them. And we need the hardware in circulation gone yesterday. We can't keep folks from dying in accidents or getting sick. We can't keep them from dying, period. For the deaths we can put off, we ought to. Violence isn't just ugly, it's damn near suicidal in this day and age. Which is why I'm looking to make a bunch of less than lethal gear, in the hopes that it'll prevent a few idiots from getting themselves and others killed. Prepper interview, the Timefall farmers. Me? I used to be an ecologist. Amelie thought highly of me and my wife's research into Timefall's effect on plant life. She was the one who suggested it could be used to boost agricultural production. See, Timefall's radically altered the ecosystem of the entire continent. Obvious, I know, just as it's obvious that we're powerless to stop it. So, we had the idea of trying to use it to our advantage instead. Make the environment better, not worse. Easier said than done, though. Take void-out craters, for example. Local chiral density is generally higher in their vicinity, which correlates with increased timefall. With all that exposure, you'd think they'd turn lush and green again before you know it. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite pan out that way. Nothing grows in any of them. Might be the timefall's done something to the soil, but the truth is, I don't have a clue. Which was one of the reasons why me and the missus were conducting our research. Gotta say, for the record, that it hadn't crossed our minds that timefall could be used to help grow food. That idea was all Amelie, so credit where it's due. Prepper interview, the junk dealer. Incredible, isn't it? This hourglass. See how the sand flows upwards? Got chiral particles in it. That's why it moves like that. And look at the shape of the glass. So elegant. So delicate. Just like the girl who made it. Hard to believe it's even off this world. But it was made by human hands, all right. Crazy, isn't it? No wonder everyone in South Knot City knows her work. You can imagine how I felt when she gave it to me. I guess you could say it was a thank you present. She asked me to fix something for her, and this is what I got in return. You know, I've done jobs for all kinds over the years, but none of my other customers ever did anything like this for me. Most will just toss you a couple of likes, and that's the end of it. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with a like or two. It's just, this was different. The moment she gave me this hourglass, I knew. I wanted to be with her. Never happened, though. Ain't cut out for love and relationships. I don't have what it takes. Other people kind of scare me, to be honest. Still, even if we can't be together, at least I'll have this hourglass. Prepper interview, the photographer. It wasn't that long ago that we moved to this shelter, the three of us. Before that, we used to live in the city, until my husband up and said we had to leave. He was so insistent, and I didn't have any choice but to go along with it. I couldn't take care of my daughter by myself. He said he was sick of city life. And I can't say I don't understand at all. I mean, timefall may not have been an issue, or BTs, but I can see how a safe and comfortable life might become suffocating. Our daughter might be happy and healthy, but we're the exception. Hardly anyone's even having children these days. You don't need a crystal ball to see where the world's headed. My husband says we're bound for extinction. Says nobody's doing anything about it. People rather stick their heads in the sand and try to wait out the storm. If we don't figure out the Death Stranding and fix this world of ours, that's all she wrote. My husband says that a lot. That maybe he's just a guy with a camera, but at least he's doing something, and so on. He's out again somewhere, investigating something. Recently, he started taking our daughter with him, teaching her to take photos of rocks and murals and the like. I'm glad they're spending time together, and I know it's good for her education, but I still hate it when they go out and leave me here to wait and pray that they come home safe and sound. Prepper interview, the mountaineer. People aren't meant to stay cooped up inside or live in one place forever. It's not natural. Exploration is in our DNA. The great outdoors is where we're supposed to be. You know our ancestors started out in Africa, right? Well, they didn't just stay there, did they? They wanted to try and find a better life, a better home. That's why humanity spread all across the planet. As we've traveled, we've evolved. Little by little, we've grown tougher and smarter. Even our immune systems have become stronger. But if we stop moving, stop exploring, that all stops too. We stagnate as a species, maybe even regress. That's why we can't hole up in the cities. There's a whole universe beyond those chiral clouds that I'd love to explore someday. But if that's not possible, then I want to at least get as close as I can. Climb the biggest mountains, go as high as I can go, and try to see what lies beyond. And I want to do it with the love of my life. The world-class mountaineer who showed me the beauty of this place. My guiding star. Together, there's no peak we can't summit. Prepper interview, The Spiritualist. No one's been able to explain the Death Stranding, and I doubt that anyone ever will. Certainly not with science. Science is only suitable for observation, measurement, objectivity. You can observe and measure as much as you like, but it will bring you no closer to an understanding. Sometimes you need to expand your mind and open your heart. Seek the souls of the dead. Listen for the waves on the beach. In antiquity, there were no barriers between the realms. People moved freely between the earth, outer space, and the world of the dead. What are myths and legends if not records of these journeys? My research has only confirmed this. The pyramids of Egypt and Mesoamerica, the Nazcan lines, Stonehenge, all gateways, built by humans in order to access the beach. Surely you can see that the wisdom of the ancients has never been more relevant. The America of the past. Oh boy, you want to hear about America? Well, you asked for it. But if you're looking for some rose-tinted bullshit, you've come to the wrong place. I'm an immigrant, you see. Nothing special about that. Whole country was built by immigrants. Right off the bat, I could see it wasn't quite the land of the free I'd been led to believe. But for a while there, it wasn't so bad. Even bought into the American dream for a minute. I mean, hell, they let a black guy and a woman take a shot at the presidency, you know? Didn't last, though. Somewhere along the line, people became so damned intolerant. All of a sudden, there wasn't any room for other opinions, or other people for that matter. We even elected a guy right before the Death Stranding that wanted to build a wall along the whole border, stop anyone like me from coming in. Once that talk started, I reckoned that was that. How could I expect a goddamn thing from a country that didn't want me? How could I hope to get by in a land where the weak and needy got fucked over for profit and peace of mind? So yeah, I figured holding up in a shelter was the way to go. Didn't know how bad it would get. No one did. But I tell you, if it hadn't been for that single decision, I wouldn't be here talking to you right now. Just goes to show that the only person anyone can rely on is his own damn self. UCA, give me a break. You're just pushing the same old bullshit, repackaged for a brave new world. Prepper shelters. Back before the Stranding, there was all kinds of companies selling all kinds of shelters. Hurricane-proof, earthquake-proof, disease-proof, war-proof, terror-proof. Probably had a recession-proof model for all I know. Any way you could picture it all going to hell, they had a shelter for it. And the guys building them? Military types, astronautical engineers, amateur enthusiasts. Everybody and his uncle was out to make a buck. But if you wanted something that'll actually last, you had yourself 3 solid choices. First, there's your American Survival Shelters units. They were a global military hardware supplier. Used to build big government bunkers, nuclear shelters, all that. They started selling to the general consumer right before the Stranding. Good timing, huh? Anyway, those babies were the creme de la creme. Next up, you had your Millennium Preppers. They made it big right after a string of terror attacks. Started selling out bank vaults and reinforced containers and the like. Wasn't enough of them to break into the shelter game, and they knew how to build them tough. Then there's your domestic guys. World Safety Housing. All about affordability, they were. Cheap and cheerful. Well, as cheerful as anyone could be after the stranding. Still, they did a lot of good for a lot of folks after things went to shit. Prepper interview. The doctor. I know what you're thinking. Why is this prepper claiming to be a doctor? Don't worry, you're not the first. Rest assured that I really am a doctor. I even have a medical license, though the governing body that issued it to me is long gone. So I won't be offended if that counts for little. But license or no, people still need doctors. Preppers get sick too, you know. That's not so hard for you to get your head around, is it? Most folks haul themselves to a city hospital when there's something wrong. But out in the boonies, that's not really an option. But we can't just leave those people to die. You know full well what will follow. And so I do what I can to help. Around here, I'm the only one people can rely on to keep them alive. Whenever I'm needed, I try to find someone to transport me to a patient's residence. But that's hardly the most efficient approach. And it doesn't endear me to the porters either. I've heard that Bridges is trying to bring everyone into their chiral network. If it's as good as I've heard, it will be a real game changer. I could perform all sorts of diagnoses and even some treatments without having to leave my shelter. I hope you manage to extend it here soon. There's a lot of people out here counting on us both. Higgs Journal. Number 1. Today I made a delivery to a shelter near Milton Knot City. It was my longest trip to date. A new personal best. Back when I was starting out, people tried to warn me off the life, saying it was dangerous for a prepper youngins to make runs, and that no one would ever really trust me. But what was I supposed to do? Kids without parents need to eat too, and it's not like I had any skills. 2 arms, 2 legs, whole lot of grit. That's all I had to offer. Worked out okay so far. I bring people what they need, and in return they do right by me. The more deliveries I make, the more orders I get. Never a porter around when you need one. So as long as I don't fuck up too badly, someone ought to throw you a bone. Helps that I've got a 6th sense for PTs too. Pretty rare, that. It's probably one of the reasons why I get so much work. Sometimes people praise me. Sometimes people praise me. Tell me I'm doing society a service by helping my fellow man. Can't say that factors into it. I'd sooner keep to myself if I could. But I've got to survive somehow. And I sure as hell ain't gonna manage by myself. Journal 2. Another prepper's kicked the bucket. I went to deliver his medicine as usual this morning, but I guess I was pretty damn late. Poor guy wasn't just dead, but on the verge of going necro. Wasn't no time to take him to an incinerator, so I had to dump him in nearby BT territory. Better than leaving him to pop, especially since my own shelter is close by. Gotta look out for number 1. When I dumped him, though, just before he popped, it was like I could feel the BTs reacting to the corpse. Saw the beach, too. Strangest thing. But I felt it before. When I first disposed of someone, the sensation was stronger. This time, though, no doubt about it. I don't know if this means I've got dooms, but I'm starting to think there's something special about me. Journal 3. A delivery outfit out west heard tell of my BT sensing abilities, and has expressed an interest in bringing me on board. Seems they operate outside Bridges' sphere of influence. They want to leverage my experience and know-how to expand their operation. Could be interesting. It's funny. I started making runs out of necessity, to stay alive. But that's all changed. I'm an altruist now. I live to help other people. Preppers around these parts rely on me. Hell, they wouldn't last 5 minutes without me. What would my daddy say if he could see me now, He taught me a man's his own keeper. But here I am, part of a community, working with other people, bringing the world together. Daddy always told me that the wide, wide world was dangerous, that we had to stay in our shelter, spend our whole life there, die there. Well, fuck that. Community is what it's all about. Journal 4. Buddy of mine died today. He was out in the mountains on a delivery, and it was so goddamn foggy. I guess he lost sight of the trail. He called me, asking for help, but the line went dead. I saw the void from here, nearly blinded me. Guess he wandered into BT territory. There's not many of us porters left these days. Not many you could trust to get the job done, anyway. Folks quitting or dying, going mule. Attrition's a bitch. If we're to keep on, we're gonna need better equipment. And someone else who can track BTs. I can still manage sometimes, but my power's getting weaker. I can feel it. Just wish I knew what to do. 'Cause at this rate, I'm fucked. We all are. Journal 5. Ha and Ka. Body and soul. The two become separated. You die. In this world, at least. The death ain't the end, though. So long as your soul's got a body to come back to, you can be reborn. Resuscitated, anyway. That's why people built coffins and sarcophagi. To preserve the body, so the soul had a home it could return to. I learned all this and more from an old book I found. The Wisdom of the Egyptians. Chock full of interesting tidbits about death and how to overcome it. Like the golden death masks of the pharaohs, the ones decorated using magical adornments as an indication of the wearer's prestige and power. I'll tell you what, if we learned anything from the beach, it's that the Egyptians had it all figured out. That's why I've decided to give myself a mask. Not a death mask, though, but one for living, for ruling. Today is the last day anyone sees my face. I don't need it anymore. Journal 6. A Bridges way station out west was just taken up by terrorists. Used a void out to do it. They dumped a corpse nearby and let it go necro, dropping BTs right into people's laps. Word is, demons heard that Bridges was sending an expeditionary force out west to facilitate the reconstruction of America, or some such. Guess they didn't take kindly to that. Terrorists, separatists, isolationists, all these folks claim America is coming for their freedom. That the old guard wants to put them in chains, make the individual subservient to the collective. They ask, what's it all for in a post-stranding world, when today's triumph is tomorrow's crater? Daddy used to spout the same tired lines, said America never did nothing for nobody. That's why we took to living in a shelter. Better down in the hole than out there under their thumb. Yeah, he was a real saint, my daddy. I tried to run a few times, but he just dragged me back inside, kicking and screaming, where he'd put those heavy hands of his to work and remind me what had happened if I disrespected his authority. But that's love, isn't it? His way of looking after an orphan child he raised as his own. He was only trying to protect me from the evils of the outside world. I owe him my life, and my powers, too. First time I ever sensed a BT was when I held him, moments before he went necro. Just like when I dumped that prepper's body. My daddy showed me that corpses are precious, powerful things. They're so much more than bombs. Terrorists ought to treat them with proper respect. Journal 7. I've had us team up with a bunch of porters who service the central part of the country. Had to be done. The writing was on the wall for my crew otherwise. And guess what? Their leaders got dooms. I've got a feeling we're gonna be good friends. Demons and terrorists have been getting more aggressive ever since the Bridges expedition team set out. As if BTs and mules weren't enough. Now we gotta keep our eyes peeled for those assholes when we're making runs. All the more reason we gotta come together, get organized. Me and my new partner, we've been talking about consolidating our operations, so we can cover the whole continent. If we do, I suppose that'll make us like the UCA in some respects. Different structure and methods, but similar ideology. A deep and abiding belief in the importance of community. But the devil's in the details, isn't it? Rules, structures. Can't just let people make decisions for themselves. And therein lies the risk. Can't have us repeating the sins of the past with another USA. And demons, well, they ain't about to think for themselves. At the end of the day, a community needs a strong leader. And the God's honest truth is that I'm the only one cut out for it. Journal 8. The rumors I'd heard about my new partner's power don't do her justice. I knew she had dooms, but she's on a whole other level, I tell you. I've never seen anything like it. Not only can she perceive BTs, but she can actually use the beach. Compared to hers, my powers are nothing. Parlor tricks courtesy of a few corpses. But it doesn't matter, not as long as I've got her. Before we met, I was bound by the limitations of my abilities. I was a blind man groping for shadows of a secret realm. But now, because of her, I can actually go to the beach. The beach. With her by my side, I could reshape this world. Not into what it was, with the old USA. Not like what Bridges wants. Something new. Something everlasting. Right here and now. A world where we're free to do whatever we goddamn please. Journal 9. My partner's powers are extraordinary, sure. But deep down I know the two of us alone don't have what it takes to bring true, lasting freedom to the people. Everything we've done, that we continue to do, no matter how much it may seem to bring people together, it's still a far cry from what it should be. Timefall, BTs, chiral clouds, all this and more, serves to cut us from the rest of creation. And I have to say I don't think that's ever going to change. Even people like me and my partner, we have our limits. But now I've met someone who has none. Someone who could save the world from this madness. Make it whole again. Put our shattered pieces back together. Journal 10. Samantha America Strand. Amelie. The moment I met her, I knew she was destined to make us whole again. She told me we'd do it together, and even gave me a gift. A bridge baby. It's a BT sensor of sorts, although it looks like a newborn. But it's not. Amelie says it was born on the beach, that it serves as a link between our world and the other side. Between me and her, too, if I keep it with me at all times. She called it a new child for a new era. I'm not just a delivery guy anymore. I'm a herald for her and her new world. She's given me everything I ever wanted, ever needed, and now I'm free to cut Fragile loose. Journal 11. BB reminds me of a baby doll, but it's no toy, that's for sure. Neither dead nor alive, half human, half something else. An inhabitant of the in-between, like a mummy. A lump of flesh wrapped around a shriveled yet still beating heart. So many symbols to choose from, all signifying that humanity's reached the end of the road. The stranding was big number 6. I see that now, and so much more. The void outs, the bodies birthing BTs, all aspects of a single phenomenon that exists solely to wipe us off the face of the earth. We can't stop what's coming. It's inevitable. Putting Humpty Dumpty back together won't change a goddamn thing. And risking life and limb to try a fool's errand? Why sacrifice what little you've gotten here and now for a future that'll never come? It's wasteful and meaningless. Amelie'd agree for sure. Journal 12. I met Amelie on the beach again and pressed her for more answers about the stranding. But she wouldn't give me anything. Maybe she's got nothing left to give. Maybe she's waiting till the time's right. I don't know, I don't care. We all know there's no escaping extinction. I'm struggling to see her angle. Why even pretend to rebuild? Why rail against the inevitable? If there's another layer to this, I can work it out. And I'm getting sick and tired of trying. If she's not gonna let me in on her plans, I'm gonna have to assume the worst and take matters into my own hands. Give humanity the coup de grace myself. I just need the power to do it. Journal 13. Dear Diary, today I nuked Middle Knot City, wiped it clean off the map. Didn't carry the bomb myself, of course. Fragile did the honors. Delivered my mercy to the people like a good little porter. I'm sure she's surprised, but she shouldn't be. Death and destruction are part and parcel of the human condition, and bringing people together only exacerbates that. Be careful what you wish for, eh? It's like when our ancestors came from the old world to the new and brought their old world diseases with them. Natives had no immunity, and over half died in the blink of an eye. Bam! And we've only come up with better, more effective ways of killing ever since. The network's just another means of hastening the end. This was always the logical conclusion of our efforts, mine and Fragile's. Maybe that's why I partnered up with her, because in my heart of hearts, I knew it was building to this. Journal 14. Sam Porter. Where to begin? Dooms, repatriate, lone wolf, Amelie's adopted brother, motherfucker. Impression I get is that he's a loner who found meaning in being a good Samaritan. Yeah, I tried that mask on for size once upon a time. Sweet little Amelie, though. She buys into his act. Thinks he's got what it takes to help her make America whole again. I tell you what, the more I look into it, the more it seems like he actually might be a true believer. Fucking hell. Anyways, he's a dead man walking. Even with Amelie's help, he'll be in Central before long. And the second he shows up, I'm bringing a shit ton of BTs down on his head and turning that place into a crater. And it's bye-bye Sammy Porter, bye-bye Bridges HQ, bye-bye Expedition Team. Journal 15. Sam's still alive. Not even a void out's enough to keep a repatriate down. Sticks in my craw. Second expedition got wiped out, obviously. But Sam seems happy to head west all by himself. Stupid fuck's crazier than me. Maybe just desperate. Still can't figure out why rebuilding the nation's so important to him. Well, whatever. He wants to keep at it, he can be my guest. Even if he still had the others backing him up, it wouldn't make a difference. Ending's already been written. I've worked it out. Worked out exactly how it's gonna go down. But dooms alone isn't enough. I need a greater power to finish the job. To rain down fire and brimstone on these modern-day Sodoms and Gomorrahs. Journal 16. I've discovered the truth about the Death Stranding. Amelie's powers have nothing to do with dooms. She's destruction incarnate. The angel of the Death Stranding. The extinction entity. I understand now what my true role is. The bridge that will deliver her judgment to this world. The executor of the end. No one knows, not even Sam. But they will. Journal 17. Sam's arrived in Port Knot City, and with Fragile to boot. Think I'll meet them there, and bring a BT or two along for the ride. It's past time I showed Bridges how powerful I've become. Come one, come all. We'll have ourselves an annihilation party, and when it's over, there'll be no one left to come between me and Amelie and the end of the world. Journal 18. God damn is Sammy boy stubborn. Just ain't the quitting type. Seems he's rubbing off on Amelie too. Girl's trying to fight her true nature. Flip the script. For all the good it'll do her. What difference does it make if it ends tomorrow or 1,000,000 years from now? This planet's 4.6 billion years old. And the universe? God only knows. Humanity's entire history is a blip on that time scale. What's the fucking point of fighting for a fraction longer? Anyways, Sam and Fragile made it to Lake Knot City, which is just as well. I reckon my old partner's due for a stroll down memory lane. A saunter through the crater she carved out with that nuke of mine. Come to think of it, maybe Sam ought to walk it with her. Yeah, I think I'll have him make a special delivery for me. Journal 19. Well, shit. Sam and Fragile managed to dispose of my nuke before it went off. They weren't smart enough to see through my disguise. But something must have tipped him off. Probably what I wrote on the tag. I know I should have resisted the temptation, but come on. Who the hell reads that shit these days? And now he's halfway to the coast. But he's in my neck of the woods now, and my boys ain't about to let up. We're gonna make him regret ever fucking with me and mine. Journal 20. The fuck was that storm that sucked up Sam? A supercell or whatever? I hooked up my BB just before I arrived. And it started shaking and blinking and... it's all gone sideways. And there's something else out there. Something all kinds of fucked up. Don't need a BB to tell me that. Journal 21. I've got Amelie. Fucking finally. She's trapped in Edgenot City. A horde of BTs all around. She's not going anywhere now. No, I'm gonna take good care of my sweet little angel of death. My extinction entity. We got plans, me and her. As for you, Sammy boy, you're gonna learn what it means to really suffer. Journal 22. Welcome to the edge, Sam. You're a real asshole. But I've got to admit, you've got grit. You remind me of me in that regard. And because we share a connection to Amelie. She gave you your dream catcher, me, my Kipu. But you've never seen her face, have you? Never looked her in the eye and seen her for what she truly is. Time to wake up and smell the ashes, Sammy boy. Time for me to tell you, to tell everyone, the truth that hides at the heart of the stranding. You're gonna love it. I'd go grab some shut-eye at the distro center or whatever if I were you. We've got a showdown coming, and you're gonna want to be fighting fit. Just don't keep me waiting too long, you hear? Journal 23. You're all alone now. You've lost everything. Your mask, her Kipu, the BB doll, gone. You thought you had the power, and you were the one fated to lead them unto extinction. Yet here you are alone. You thought you were in control. But this was your role, your dream. The verge of victory, of oblivion for one and all. Herald, executioner, pawn, God particle. A stupid name for a stupid goddamn fool. This was your life, Higgs. Your tale, told by an idiot, full of sound and righteous fury, signifying nothing. Journal 24. My first memory is of looking up at the ceiling of our shelter, as a baby bawling my eyes out. All of a sudden, the hand of God comes into view, blotting out the steel sky. Daddy lifts me up, not gentle, but not hard, shouts some stuff, but it's all gibberish I can't make heads or tails of. He ain't my real daddy, though. That one died before I was born, and Mama soon after. Of disease or something, I don't know. My brother took me in, whisked me away from that shelter reeking of piss and death, and brought me here. Daddy number 2. He never really took to it. He was an ugly, violent man, full of anger with nowhere to go. Tried to love me in his own way, but I don't know if he ever had it in him. Daddy told me our shelter was our world, and I believed him. I grew up thinking no one but us two existed. Then, when I got a little older, I started asking questions. Simple questions about where the food came from. That kind of thing. Got smacked upside the head for my troubles. But try as he might, he couldn't beat the curiosity out of me. One day I peeked at his monitor. It was the first glimpse I ever caught of the outside world. I pestered Daddy about it. And you bet I caught holy hell for it. But I wore him down, and eventually he came clean, and admitted there was a whole world out there, soaked to the bone by timefall, and overrun by demons that would eat me up. It occurred to me later that his fear-mongering probably got Mama killed, failing her head with his hysterics about the dead walking the earth. and the only safe haven being 6 feet under. Journal 25. My mama entrusted me to her brother, so he had no choice but to raise me best he could. Say what you will about the man, but he had himself a sense of obligation. He might even have harbored a measure of affection for me, but whatever was in his heart, he expressed with his hands, his fists. Any hopes and dreams he might have had for me, for us, fell by the wayside pretty quick. We slipped into a daily routine of warnings to stay the fuck inside, bookended by beatings to drive the point home. I think sometimes he sincerely believed that was the only way to protect me. But I wasn't about to go on living like that. Can't cage a young boy's spirit. If I'd stayed, I'd have died, body and soul. I had to get out. Started hoarding supplies in secret. But he caught on. That was the beginning of the worst beating yet. He was grabbing anything and everything within reach that could be used as a weapon. Tearing our shelter apart, smashing furniture, all the while waiting like a wounded animal, tears streaming down his face. He pinned me down, tears and spit flying in my face as he blubbered about me not understanding his pain. His fucking pain. His hands around my neck, darkness creeping in from the corners. His fucking pain. His fucking pain. The kitchen knife in my hands. In his neck. His hands, his fucking hands, they grow weak and he just deflates like a balloon all over me. I roll him off and I look into his glassy eyes, filled with his fucking pain and our steel sky. Journal 26. I didn't know how to feel after. I spent the night next to him, my mind a blank canvas. In the back of it, a nagging voice saying I had to dispose of it. Daddy hadn't told me much, but he had told me about how bodies go necro, pop BTs and all that. Made for a good bedtime story. So I knew what would happen if I let him lie. Death would come into our home and turn it into a crater. His stink was starting to fill up the room. I had to deal with him, had to get him out. Get him as far away as possible. So I got my arms under his and dragged him out into a new world with a new sky. Bigger, emptier, bare rock, dotted with bushes all around. Mountains, fucking mountains, off in the distance. Chiral clouds hugging their peaks. My knees started getting wobbly, and the world began to spin. But I knew the clock was ticking. Eyes down. Gotta deal with Daddy. I'd been moving at a steady clip when I saw it. Chiralium coming off Daddy. Little motes of shimmering light. I was out of time. I laid him down in the dirt, but before I let go I had a vision. My hands, still resting on his body, disappeared, vaporized into a fine mist. Poof. And then I felt another presence. A BT, coming slow, but sure. Like I'd been walking since the beginning of time. Daddy's keeper. That was the first one I sensed, but it wasn't the last. For a long while after, I remained awakened to their presence. A sixth sense. Daddy's parting gift to me. Over time, it will fade, but I knew how I got it, and I knew how to get it back. All I needed was another body, and I got real good at making them. Death for life, theirs for mine, a fair exchange. Higgs Journal, Coffin 1. The head of the outfit who recognized my talents and sought me out was a woman who called herself Coffin. The things she told me, oh boy. I'd heard that Bridges wanted to rebuild America, which is all well and good, but made no difference to me. I was content to stick with my smaller circle of associates. Mind my own business, stay alive. But Coffin, she spun me a different yarn. Said that Bridges was out to fuck the world up, and then some. That their plan for rebuilding America involved honest-to-God human sacrifice, of unborn children at that. These so-called BBs were being carted to some factory by the boatload to be slaughtered. She and her friends even done some of the carting themselves, unwittingly. The guilt was eating her alive. So Bridges are using children for their own ends. Them and Daddy'd get along swell. Not Coffin, though. Seems she and her crew are behind the spat of recent terrorism. Not that she considers it to be terrorism, of course. Me neither. If Bridges is doing what she claims, then someone's gonna make them pay, am I right? Ain't no value in a false connection, especially if it comes at a steep cost like that. Some things a man can't abide. So I'll stand with Coffin and follow her lead, even if it's gotta be in secret. Coffin, too. Coffin gave me a mission. We said our goodbyes and went our separate ways. She took a team and raided the BB factory. Their strategy was solid, and it should have gone like clockwork. Save the kids, shut down the operation. Everyone goes home feeling good. And then Bridges went and blew the whole damn facility to Kingdom Come. Wiped out everything and everyone in an instant. Of course, that wasn't the story they fed to the public. Instead, they announced that, despite terrible destruction and loss of life, they'd finally managed to eliminate the terrorist threat, or some such bullshit. Little do they know that Coffin survived. Guess whatever tunnels they built underground held up better than anticipated. No idea who else is down there or how they're holding up. Haven't heard from her in a while. Best to keep my distance and let Bridges think she's dead. I've got my own mission after all. Gotta head west, play the good porter a little while longer. Only way to save the BBs and put a stop to Bridges. And do right by Coffin. And her daughter, should we ever cross paths. Wonder if we'll ever meet again. In a dream, maybe. End of tape 3.